Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 19th of August 2022, and as always, we've got plenty to get through. So, without further ado, let's kick it off with our look back at last weekend's fixtures in the Premier League of the Halifax Cricket League and some of the highlights from those games. So, we'll start by talking about Bradshaw, who had a fantastic victory against Thornton. They're up to third again now after beating Thornton by 38 runs. So, that's a good result for them. Triangle beat Sawby Bridge in the other game of the teams I'm interested in. That's a 6-wicket victory for Triangle against Sawby Bridge. They did actually get some runs on the board, but it weren't enough, and we'll come on to that in a little bit. Copley maintained their lead at the top of the table. They had a very comfortable win against Great Horton Park Chapel, winning by 9 wickets. Illingworth had a comfortable win as well. They beat Ludden and Foot by 10 wickets, so they're the top 2 teams there. Booth beat Mythe Royd by 43 runs, and SBCI had a very big win over Whalley, winning by 133 runs. So I've been looking at some more of the details from those games, and Bradshaw in their game against Thornton batted first, and they probably feared the worst at 135 all out be made when they batted. Charlie Holt Conway with 40 was the only one who really troubled the scorers for Bradshaw, and there were 3 wickets each for Umbahera and Josh Hutchinson. Josh keeping his season going really well. When it come round to batting though, Thornton were 97 all out, despite the efforts of Josh Hutchinson. He scored 55. He got 50 of his runs off 10 balls. But Aaron Buckley and Anthony Langton, they managed to see off the rest of the squad. And once they got rid of Josh, I think that was pretty much the writing on the wall. And Aaron took 4 for 42 and Anthony took 4 for 44. And they were the men who saw Bradshaw home by a reasonably comfortable margin in the end. And it's a great result for them, and a disappointing result for Thornton, obviously. Sawby Bridge in their game batted first, 226 all out. I've criticised the batting this season, not a bad score at all. And Triangle did get the target, but they only had 5 balls left, so maybe they timed it well, maybe they're a little bit fortunate, but the lack of being able to take the wickets this time was a problem for Sawby Bridge instead of the batting. When they were batting, Ashish Sharma scored 45. Chris Metcalf scored 39, and whilst I'm talking about Chris, happy birthday for today. I'd just like to wish you a happy birthday. Also, I'd like to wish Gareth the Bear Kershaw, big Bradford City fan, a happy birthday today. That saves me 2 jobs later on Facebook, so I hope you're both watching. I'll tag you in it so you can read this and listen to it. Chris, you probably read it anyway, so you both have a good day. So that was a batting successful side there for Sawby Bridge, but Jack Gledhill took 4 for 58 to restrict them to a score, which in the end was just within the reach of Triangle. Like I said, he got 228 for 4. Tom Fryer was 73. Ed Denham chipped in with 49 not out. He's had some good scores recently. Curtis Whippy also 43 not out. He's had some good scores. Jake Dixon did his best for Sawby Bridge, taking 3 for 38, but ultimately he was the only one that really took any wickets. And they lost to Sawby Bridge by 6 wickets, so disappointing result again. Great Horton Park Chapel faced Copley. Great Horton Park Chapel scored 190 for 9. Probably thought that was reasonable. Good to see Brownie in the runs. Chris Brown 52, top scoring for them. And also Ricky Hassel 47. But for Copley, Ollie Thorpe keeps his good season going. Him and Gav Whip both took 3 wickets each. And then when it came round to batting, it was all about Ollie. 191 for 1 Copley scored in plenty of time, and Ollie was the man of the moment. 102 not out. That's brilliant. Ollie's having such a good season, along with Josh Hutchinson, Matty Smith, and a few others I'll mention further on. So comfortable victory for Copley there, and maintaining a lead at the top of the league. Illingworth, well, they faced Ludden and Foot. Ludden and Foot batted first. They were 113 all out. Jacob Whitehouse was the top scorer. He got 26, which isn't the greatest score, but at least he got some runs on the board. Ben Robertshaw took 3 for 13. He was the main man with the ball for Illingworth. Illingworth knocked off the total without a loss of any wickets, so we're unbeaten. Gaz Fellows 72 not out. Matty Smith 31 not out. Gaz again, like Matty, having a really good season with the bat, so comfortable win there for Illingworth. Booth, they batted first against Mythe Royd and put on 246 for 8 on the board. It was Robert Laycock with 44 not out, the top scorer. Quite a few players got in but didn't go in any further, but it was enough to see them home in the end. Jack Earl and Shoaib Hassan both took 3 wickets for Mythe Royd. Mythe Royd, when it came round to batting, 203 all out, so disappointingly couldn't quite get there, and Tofek Ahmed scored 52, Rooney Razak scored 42. They were the two men with a bat, but Patrick Thomas and Richard Laycock took 3 wickets each, so they're the ones who made sure that Booth got the victory in the end there. And then finally, SBCI put on a good total of 268 for 7. Another man having a good season, Tom Wood, 149 he scored there. Connor Mitchell got 4 for 66, including the wicket of Tom. He caught and bowled him, but it was a little bit in vain. Wally batted, but 135 all out. And Richard Hine was a top scorer, 28 runs he scored. Alex Schofield was the man with the ball for SBCI, took 5 for 30, and Lewis Firth chipped in with 3 for 46. I think Ollie Benson took the other 2 wickets. Those 3 between them are having a good season for SBCI, and they're doing well on the back of that. So there's the highlights from last Saturday's games. Looking forward to this weekend's games, and we've got the following fixtures to look forward to. Boover at home to Great Horton Park Chapel. Bradshaw at home to Italy with St Mary's in the derby game. Bradshaw will be confident after last week's victory against Thornton, but unfortunately appear to have a few players missing this weekend, including Mickey Hustler and Aaron Buckley, so that could be a bit of a blow. So hopefully it won't have too much of an impact. Copley at home to Thornton, another big game there. SBCI are at home to Sawbury Bridge in their derby game. Triangle take on Mythenroyd, and Whalley take on Ludfoot. So we've got some good derby games this weekend. So hopefully the weather will play nice, won't be affected by any rain or anything like that. Hopefully we'll see some good cricket, and we'll be able to come back next Friday and talk about where we are with the top of the table and the bottom of the table. So until next time, we're going to now move on to talk about England in the first test against South Africa. Not the best of starts. South Africa won the toss, put England to bat, and the conditions weren't great for batting. There were a lot of overhead conditions. England didn't help themselves with the way they batted. 165 all out. Ollie Pope was the only man who really made any impact at all. He scored 73 before being bowled by Kagisa Rabada. He took 5 for 32, showing what a good bowler he is. I think we all know what a great bowler he is now. He's got so much pace, accuracy, and he's quite fearsome. South Africa 289 for 7 at the end of day 1 in reply, mainly due to a good innings by Hervé. He scored 73 as well, I think. Yeah, 73. And England have fought that a little bit, because South Africa were 154 for 2, but then he got on to 211 for 6, and I thought they were getting back into the game. But then Keshav Maharaj came in at number 8. He's not the best batsman in the world. He's played for Yorkshire. He usually bats about number 9, 10, 11 for county games. And he got 41 very quickly. The bowling tactics weren't great. Ben Stokes took 3 wickets, but he was a little bit expensive as well. But I think he felt, like he said on the TV, it was a case of if you want something doing right, do it yourself. He shouldn't have to do that, but he did. The bowling wasn't the best. The tactics weren't great. And now they find themselves in a situation where they're going to be fighting to again possibly to try and bowl out this time, to bowl out the team that are in the lead. To win the match. It could be an uphill task, because South Africa are number 1 in the Test Championship at the moment. They're in good form. They're just bonding their team together now, which seems to be working nicely. Got some good players, and it won't be as easy as it was against New Zealand or India. I'm not saying they were easy, but easy. I think South Africa might be a little bit of a tougher nut to crack compared to those two. In terms of Yorkshire, they're doing okay in the One Day Cup. They're playing Kent today away. They're in a reasonable position to try and qualify for the next stage. The problem being is that they lost the last game on Tuesday quite convincingly to Essex. They'd won 3 out of 4. They bowled Essex all out for 240 after being 184 for 2. Essex will be disappointed with that. But then the rain came, thought the game may well be abandoned. It relented long enough for Yorkshire to try and bat. They scored 76 for 6. Then it rained again, and it was decided on Duckworth Lewis. I think they lost by 88 runs, which is a pretty heavy defeat for considering the scorelines and how many overs they actually batted. So a disappointing result there. They need to be looking to bounce back against Kent today if they want to make through to the next stage. I'm not actually sure if it goes to a semi-final or straight to a final, actually, because they're in 2 groups. I'll have to look that up for next week and let you know. But I think the 4th at the moment in the group of Yorkshire. The teams ahead of them are, I think, Lancashire, Hampshire and Essex. All the teams that you probably expect to be above them if anybody was going to be. So there we are, that's where we're Yorkshire, and that's where we wrap up the cricket news for this week and move on to football. Start of FC Halifax Town, and we've not had the best of starts of the season. We're having difficulty scoring goals. We haven't managed to score a goal yet. We're bottom of the league, we've scored 1 point. We've only had 3 games. They're actually playing okay. The 2 home games this week against Torquay, where they lost at home 1-0, and then obviously the Tuesday night game against Southend, which was a 0-0 draw. They played well in the Torquay game. They played okay in the Southend. Probably shaded that one as well. But definitely with a better team against Torquay. We just couldn't hit the ball into the net. and that's a bit frustrating. But Town fans of long term will remember. I think it was 1990 the season, 1991. It took us several games to get any goals or anything like that. I think it was like 7 or 8 games, and eventually we won at Carlisle 3-0 on the 8th match. I hope it doesn't go that long, but I'm sure it was something like that. Billy Barr scored 2 in that game. I'm sure people who remember that will be able to put me right on that if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember that was the case. I ended up in hospital that day, but that's nothing to do with this, and that's why I remember it so well though. Okay, so let's hope we can pick up some points tomorrow at Wealdstone. They could do with a 3 and a goal would be really good. So Wealdstone have had a good victory during the week. I think they've won at Oldham, so they'll be confident as well, so it's not going to be easy. Barnet, who we lost to first game of the season, people say they've been whipping boys. Bottom 6 are actually top at the moment, so maybe the people that said that don't know what they're on about, because it was all based on last season's form. You probably don't have a clue about any other played teams in the league. You're just going on what they've read in the press and then seen the league tables in the past season, so it's all a new start. Big result for Chesterfield during the week as well. They beat Wrexham, and they've got another big game. It's Saturday tea time. That's the match on BT Sport, 5:20. I think it's Notts County against Chesterfield, so that's a local derby game. Not a lot of love lost between those two, so it could be a good one to watch, that one. So yeah, so that's where we are in the Conference League, or the Panorama National League as we call it now. Talking of teams at the bottom of the league, that takes us nicely onto the Premier League, and Manchester United at bottom of the league after losing it again. A horrendous defeat at Brentford. They were 4-0 down after 37 minutes, something like that. I couldn't believe it when I saw what had happened. I knew they were 1-0 down after 10 minutes, but I was flicking on between the speedway and that, and looked and saw it was 4-0. I couldn't believe it. Luckily for them, the damage didn't get any worse in the second half. It stayed at 4-0, but they are now bottom of the league. We're down in the bottom 3 with Everton and West Ham. Obviously early days. Everton losing to Villa 2-1 on the TV game on Saturday lunchtime. The only positive side for Everton there was probably the introduction of Onana. He looks a good player. Looks like he could be very tricky. He's tall. He gets himself legs going well, and beat our defender easily a couple of times down the left. So could be a good prospect there for Everton. But going back on topic again a little bit more now, it's Manchester City and Arsenal, and we're taking up the reins at the top of the table. Champions, Man City beat Bournemouth 4-0. They're top of the league after 2 games on goal difference from Arsenal. Won both their games. Arsenal won 4-2 at home to Leicester in a very entertaining game. This weekend we've got, before we move on, Liverpool drew with Fulham 1-1. So they've only had 2 draws so far. Darwin Núñez being sent off for a rather stupid headbutt on Joachim Andersen, the Crystal Palace centre half. Not good to see that Andersen received lots of threatening messages as well. We don't need that. Not good at all. So, but Liverpool face Manchester United this weekend, and we'll come on to that in a moment and talk about this week's live games. A Saturday lunchtime live game, BT Sport 12:30, Tottenham at home to Wolves, and then we've got the tea time game on Sky, which is Bournemouth against Arsenal. And Sunday's games, 2 games, 2 o'clock kick-off. The first one is Leeds versus Chelsea. That could be a very entertaining game, I reckon. And the 4:30 game likewise. Newcastle have improved massively at home to Manchester City. Can they put a blot on City's copybook in that game? How can Haaland cope with Newcastle? And then this Monday night game is the big game of the weekend. It is Manchester United versus Liverpool at Old Trafford. Liverpool are probably expecting a comfortable victory. I don't think the players are, but the fans certainly are. So we'll see what happens. But Manchester United aren't in a good place at the moment. I ain't going to say anything else bad about Manchester United, because I don't want my good friend Dave Evatt and the flash mob of Nick Gregson, Colin Campbell and Rich Durgan popping around to my house and threatening me. So I won't say anything else about Man United, but I think they all know they're not in a good place at the moment. We'll see what happens, and if it gets more players in before the transfer window closes. But the problem is they've been linked with so many different players now, it's hard to say whether they're going to get the right ones. Casemiro's the latest one to be linked recently, so we'll see if they can get him or not. He would be a good addition actually. I always get on a little bit, but yeah, we'll see how they get on. Okay, moving on from the Premier League now, we're going to talk about Speedway, and what a fantastic weekend it was in Cardiff for Dan Bewley, who won the British Grand Prix at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. The track conditions weren't the best. It was the worst I've seen them for quite some time at the stadium in Cardiff, and he was the one who was unfazed by it all. Jack Holder a little bit unfazed by it all. He got knocked out in the semi-final, but Dan, he looked good all the way through the meeting, wasn't bothered, scored 12 points in qualifying, from second in his semi, but when he comes to the final, he powered away from gate 2 and he managed to win convincingly to take it was his first ever final and his first victory. and he'll be confident now of going well in the next round as well, because his next round on his Polish League home track where he's now living in Wrocław. So I'll be hoping for a second consecutive victory. At the head of the table, we've got Bartosz Smarslik, who looks like he's going to retain his title after losing it to Artem Laguta. Interestingly, Dan name-checked Artem Laguta in his speech after the match when he was being interviewed by the presenters on BT Sport, to say that Artem had helped him with his machinery and stuff, lots of things, and he was saying that if it hadn't been for him being not allowed to race, he wouldn't be in it at all. So it's good that Artem's got involved that way to help Dan, but Dan's career is really starting to lift off now, and hopefully he'll go on to win more and will be a future world champion, especially seeing as he shares a birthday with me, so my birthday twin could be the world champion. That'd be fantastic. So go on, Dan, you know you can do it. Okay, moving away from Speedway now, we're going to talk about stock cars. Tom Harris won the second Formula 1 Stock Car World Championship semi-final at Skegness last weekend. He lost the coin toss to Paul Hines though, so he'll be on the outside for the World Final at Ipswich on the September 11th. I watched the race, a convincing victory for Tom. Frankie Wayman Jr. was second. He was comfortable in second place. I don't think he was in too much rush to try and chase after Tom. He was happy with second place. And it all leads nicely to the big day in September at Ipswich. This weekend there's no action in Britain for the Formula 1s, as they're across in Holland for the World Cup at Venray, another title that Tom will be looking to get his hands on. Tom Harris, all the top tarmac boys, Frankie, as I mentioned already, all of Wayman's are going to be there, I think, apart from Danny. I'm not sure if Danny's going, but Phoebe and Frankie Jr. are definitely going. Luke Davidson, Sean Webster, like I say, all the ones you'd expect to do well on the tarmac are over there, hoping to try and bring the gold back to the UK for. So good luck to all of you there. Hopefully you can bring it back home for us. Last subject this week, Rugby League, and Halifax Panthers had another good victory. A fought back from being 20 points to 10 down at half time on Friday to eventually run out winners 32-26. A great performance by Aston, Corey Aston. He will upset his father, no doubt, was involved at Sheffield by being the architect of 3 or 4 of the tries, I believe. Joe Arundel scoring a hat-trick of tries. This Sunday the Panthers face Newcastle at home at the Shea, so that should be a victory, you'd think so. They've got Bulls next week at home as well, so hopefully 2 more wins at home should seal that 3rd spot for them, especially after the Bulls actually won at York on Monday night in the Premier League Sports game, and also Barrow won at Batley. So I think Barrow are away to Featherstone this week, or they face Featherstone, so that'll be a tough game for them as well. So I've looked through the fixtures and they've all got tough games, so if Halifax can probably get 2 more victories, they should be able to seal that 3rd spot and get a home tie in the playoffs. I think we all still fancy Lee will go up, they're well clear. Featherstone seem to have settled into 2nd place now, knowing they're not going to go any further up the table or fall any further down it. So I think there's only 4 games to go, so that's obviously reaching its culmination now. In the Super League, St Helens are 6 points clear at the top, and it looks like Toulouse may be coming back to join us in the Championship. That's if Halifax don't go up, of course. They're 4 points behind now. Again, I think they've got 4 or 5 games to go there. They've all played 23. I'm not sure if they played 27 or 28. The Championship teams all played 27, I know that for a fact. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens there. So I think that's just about it. Anything else? Oh, well done to Emma Raducanu beating Serena Williams this week. She seems to be getting her career back on track a little bit. And obviously the US Open starts in a couple of weeks' time, so she'll be wanting to get herself in good form to try and defend her title there. Right, I think that is about it. So I hope you've enjoyed watching as always. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe on YouTube. Any comments you'd like to leave below, please do so either on YouTube or Facebook or even on Twitter. As far as this podcast is concerned, I'm going to keep it as it is until the end of the cricket season, but I'm looking to change it in some ways. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do afterwards. Maybe something a little bit different. But if you've got any comments or anything you'd like to see or any feedback on that, just drop me a private message, and I'll talk to you about that. But as always, thank you for watching, and hope you have a good week watching sport or whatever you're doing. And I'll see you all again next Friday. Until then, it's bye for now.